listeners, it's me, Sophie. For all the newbies, who am I? Well, I'm the founder of the EdTech Podcast, and the EdTech Podcast, well, that started way back when in 2016. So much has happened since then. So we've had peaks and troughs of EdTech investment and innovation, the breakthrough of mainstream AI. We've had concerns about smartphones and mental health, and we've had a geopolitical tightening of how we deliver tech and think about who and how our kids are educated. So why am I here in your earphones now? And where have I been all this time? Well, dear listeners, since 2020, I've been on a few adventures myself. In April 2020, I had a lockdown baby, and then did what I always do when I go on maternity leave. I started a new business, and this time this was in the future of workspace and with investment, a co-founder, and some fantastic clients. For the next 3 years, I learned a ton, and the impressive Professor Rose Luckin took the helm here at the EdTech Podcast, covering all things AI in education. So I hope you've enjoyed those episodes, and a huge shout out to Rose and her team for all their amazing work. And you can continue to check out her thinking over at her AI YouTube channel. Scroll forward to now. I'm supporting scale-up businesses in their own go-to-market strategy. Something I've always loved doing is seeing new ventures off the ground. But what of the EdTech Podcast, I hear you say? Well, I've been thinking. The EdTech Podcast is 10 years old next year, and the next 10 years are going to be a wild ride. AI, how we learn, how we regulate in a digital immersed world, how we understand what's real, and how our educational institutes serve us are all on the table. The EdTech Podcast is still very much needed. And our mission here is still the same, to improve the dialogue between ed and tech for better innovation and impact. And for me, that has always meant everyone. Educational leaders, investors, entrepreneurs, policy leads and ministers, learners, journalists, and authors and academics. It's also meant global. We've held the podcast in Beijing and Austin, in Helsinki and Dubai. So our mission is very much the same. But we now have a new host who can encapsulate this for the next 10 years. So who is this person? Well, she's held senior leadership roles in schools across the UK and the UAE, driving innovation in STEAM, design technology and computer science, and working with leading private schools and multi-academy trusts. She's also developed digital governance and safeguarding policies for education authorities, including ADEC in Abu Dhabi, and is currently advising the World Bank and other ministries on national and regional strategies for sustainable digital transformation. She's also what I'd call an EdTech whisperer, working in partnership with Apple, Microsoft, Canva and Meta, and advising on things like localization and impact to those companies. And finally, she's also working globally across Europe, India and the MENA region. So this person, dear listeners, was actually one of our very first listeners to the podcast in 2016. And I remember that she used to record audio messages and send them in after each show from 2016 onwards. So she's deeply passionate about the subject and a huge fan of the podcast and how we might bring that into its second decade. So without further ado, I'm excited to welcome Philippa Raithmel as the next host of the EdTech Podcast. So what can you expect in this next phase for the podcast? Well, firstly, we're going back to regular episodes. Next up, we'll be covering the big thinkers and doers in education, academics, authors, in-classroom experts and LLM education leads. We've got it all coming. So here's Philippa and I chatting about why we're excited for what is to come.
Hello, listeners. That was quite an introduction. I hope I can live up to what you've just described, which is it's interesting when you listen back to the things that you do.
Have I done all this? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, for me, 2016, I was the first time I listened to your podcast. It really was my journey and gave me so many insights, which I really hope is what our new series can do to other educators. But it was my first port of call of what's happening in the world and what do I need to be doing right here, right now. And that really is the trajectory that has been able to enable me to do all of those things, which is incredible. So it feels like a real pleasure and honor to be able to now be being the host of the EdTech
Well,
Podcast.
it's absolutely fabulous to hear. I think we're excited, aren't we, to continue to bring
Definitely.
stories from around the world, different settings. Um, and yeah, and Philippa, it's just like very exciting to see you sort of take that mantle and run with it a little bit. So thank you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think that's the big thing from my perspective, from what we've been discussing around everything that we're going to be able to achieve is really going back to bringing those stories and the kind of why behind things, the ethics, the understanding, looking at it from so many different stakeholder perspectives and being able to really bring all of those together. And as you say, being able to travel so much has such an opportunity. I meet some incredible people every single day, and they all have such amazing stories and insights, and there is so much to learn from everybody, and that's what we'll be bringing to all of our listeners, which is fabulous.
And just as a little insight for people listening in, so give us a sense of your last week and what your world looks like as well.
So I landed this morning back from Bangalore in India. I spent the last week there working with a group of schools from across India. So they all came through into Bangalore to showcase learning that they'd been doing and been working on. And it was all about empowerment of using technology for progress and support, but also for critical thinking, that real cultural preservation as well. It was all built around biodiversity. And so meeting and listening to leaders there, but supporting the students actually with their learning. So working on that learner experience design, because I think these are, there's so many different aspects of things that are important to be able to allow students to learn meaningfully with that technology is what that was all about. And it was really great to meet those students after having worked with them online for quite some time, as well as those teachers. And then if I throw forwards to next week, I'll be on a flight off to Romania to do something totally different. And I'm very lucky in the fact that I now get to do so many different things and wear lots of different hats, but just kind of really be able to get into the mix of meeting and speaking to so many people.
Awesome. So a couple of things off the back of that. If you're listening and you have a really interesting thing to either share or something that you really think needs to be teased out in terms of how either on the education side how things get applied, or in terms of what services and innovation is getting developed, then get in touch. It's all the same contact. So the edtechpodcast@gmail.com. Great email name there. So yeah, that continues. So you can reach Philippa on that email. In order to develop the podcast, we're working with sponsors to draft up some of the series coming forward. We're having some really interesting conversations about that already. If you're at events or listening from one of the major events, we were lucky enough to have media partnerships previously with South by Southwest, with ASU GSV, with BET and many others. So, Philippa is obviously and quite usually at these events. So it's a great chance to do some recordings and share what's going on as well, whether that's through a media partnership or speaking and so on. So yeah, this is all good. So thank you, Philippa. Have you got anything else to say before we embark on the next episode?
No, I think the only thing that I would add to your requests from listeners would also be if there's something that you think that we are missing and aren't addressing and think we should have a little delve into, that would be amazing to have some insights into as well. Maybe it's something in a part of the world that we wouldn't even be aware of, that, or maybe it's a question around, is there tech that helps with that, and is there something that can support the education system better, but they just haven't heard of it and we haven't shared it yet. So that would be also really interesting and really cool. But otherwise, we just hope to reignite listeners who maybe haven't listened in a long time, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with them. Please send in voice notes as before and things, and we'll share them on the podcast.
Because so if you go to the edtechpodcast.com, you can find there's a little widget there. So essentially you can just leave a little voice note. So for example, if you're listening to an old episode and you want to have your thoughts on that included, that's actually how I came to know you, really, isn't it? So it's a
Exactly.
very powerful little device there. So yeah, feel free to drop a note there, and we collect as many of those as possible and get those out on the podcast. And
Amazing.
yeah, it's all good.
Exciting. Well, we can't wait to launch the first episode, which will be coming very soon.